Hi, I'm Courtney Trevette, and I'm here with Brennan Bunton, and he's a seminary student at Liberty University. First off, do you agree with the YouTube video, Taking God Out of America?
I agree with the overall purpose of the video. I wouldn't necessarily agree with the whole message, just in the fact that, yes, we should be um, concerned about the fact that the government's excluding the historicity of overall what the founding fathers stood for and what our government was founded on. But as well, we should recognize the fact that when America was first started, they were escaping religious persecution. And that's a lot of how I would say today's world views it, is in the fact that we're trying to put our own Christian values and perspective and views onto them and make them think and believe accordingly to that. While things, yes, like abortion, of course, are morally wrong, um, you don't expect the blind to see. And yeah, so they should be focusing on the historicity of the message, but it doesn't mean the government today, as it stands, should be promoting or spreading the message of Christianity as the church should.
Okay, in your opinion, if America keeps going down the path that we're going down, how's it going to affect us and especially our children?
As far as America as a whole, I think it'll be positive in the fact that much of the culture and even our nation itself as it stands has grown up in a culture of Christianity. So children have grown up adopting their own parents' faiths and not necessarily living out those lifestyles themselves and being used to being Sunday churchgoers and being cultural Christians. So I think it'll be good in the fact that it'll weed out much of that and help refine a lot of what the church is and the the impact that it's having on its society will be a lot more real, as opposed to a lot of the falsehood that goes on even in the church itself. I also think it'll be negative, of course, in the fact that um, our world's a fallen world, and Satan's always learning new ways to attack us and find our weaknesses and take advantage of it. And so there's always constantly, compared to how our parents were, even nowadays, there's a lot more distractions and a lot more ways to fall into temptation.
Okay, at the end of the video, they gave some contact information for us as Americans can call so we can have a voice in the situation. How do you think we as Christians can have a voice?
It's not necessarily how can we as Christians have a voice, but how should we have a voice? Because necessarily getting politically involved, I think, is one of Satan's biggest attacks on Christians nowadays. Is making us distracted by the issues rather than preaching the gospel. Because, like I said, how do you expect the blind to see if all we're telling them, hey, you should stop tripping over rocks? Well, I mean, what do you expect when they're blind and can't see what's in front of them? Instead, they need to be healed, not necessarily, physically, but spiritually, and it's ultimately God that has the power to do that. And so, as we as Christians just need to be obedient to the message of His Word and sharing the gospel and sharing love and opening our arms to the needy, whether it's a gay man or some woman who had an abortion. We recognize that Christ shared love to all.
Okay, when I was watching the video, I noticed that they were taking the word God out everywhere and they were replacing it with faith. What is different from using faith than using God?
As far as using God, that shows a specific faith in something directly. God, or being one God or many gods, but specifically in that statement, it means just one God. As far as faith in general, that specifically just means faith in anything. It could be anything. Really, just it's up to interpretation at that point.
Okay, and on our currency today, every bill has "In God We Trust." So they're talking about taking off everything "In God We Trust." Like, what would they have to do to be able to do that?
I don't think it would have to be that much, because definitely, as far as the the government and everything, they are taking God out of a lot of things, just like the video noted. And as long as the general public, because we are a free nation, as long as the general public was okay with something like that, I think it's very possible that something like that could happen. Because again, it's not the government's responsibility to uphold Christian ethics; it's the church's. It's the church itself that should be preaching that message and endorsing it, not expecting a political realm that's so corrupt and full of deceit that, to try to compartmentalize all the different values according to whether Republican or Democratic, it's ultimately going to fail because all sin is sin in God's eyes. And no amount of judgment or legalistic behavior is going to fix that. Ultimately, again, it's the gospel we should be sharing.
Okay, well, thank you very much.